How did it happen that humanity agreed to work 8 hours a day in exchange for rectangular pieces of paper? To answer that question, we need to travel back in time. At first, people simply bartered, trading items they found or made themselves. Later, they settled down, began farming, and societies with specialization emerged. Trade became a necessity, but there was one big obstacle: the double coincidence of wants. Imagine this. One person makes shirts, another grows corn. If they both want each other's goods, the trade works. But what if the farmer doesn't need a shirt? Then the tailor has to exchange his shirt for something else, and only then try to trade again for corn. That could take a lot of time. Worse, he might never find anything the corn seller actually wants. This problem was even deeper than it looked. With no refrigerators or transportation, barter was impractical. Picture a fisherman and a farmer. The fisherman's catch spoils quickly, while the farmer's harvest comes only once a year. They can't exchange directly. So society needed something universal, something everyone would accept, anytime. That something was money, a durable good with value, accepted by all for trade. Throughout history, people used all sorts of things as money: cattle, cigarettes, and alcohol. Yes, you could literally drink your salary. Tools and knives in ancient China, and even giant stone discs on a Pacific island. Those stones were so large that no one moved them. People simply remembered who owned which one. Once, a storm sank one of those stones into the ocean, but it still counted as money for centuries. Nobody ever saw it again, but everyone agreed it was still there. The most widespread form of early money, however, was the cowrie shell. It was durable, impossible to fake, and scarce enough to hold value. Later, when humans learned metalworking, silver and gold coins became money in many places. All these forms of money had one thing in common: they were commodity money. Their value came from the material itself. Cowrie shells were rare and beautiful. Gold and silver were prized for jewelry and craft. But commodity money had flaws. Alcohol could be diluted. Coins could be melted and recast. Worse yet, it slowed down economic growth. Coins were heavy and awkward. In China, coins were strung on ropes. A rope of 1,000 coins weighed 4.5 kilograms. Carrying them for big deals was risky and exhausting. The Chinese government solved this by issuing lightweight paper notes in exchange for coins. Each note promised a specific amount of metal, which could be redeemed in the capital. Soon, these state IOUs began circulating as money themselves. The idea spread beyond China. In the Italian trading city-states, merchants invented similar systems. They left promissory notes instead of carrying coins. Banks bought these notes at a discount, then settled them in other cities. These notes, too, began to circulate as money. Fast forward to England, 1640. Goldsmiths told merchants, "We have big vaults. For a small fee, you can store your money safely with us." Soon the tables turned. Goldsmiths began paying depositors because they could lend out the stored money. They issued receipts, which depositors could redeem for their gold. Over time, these receipts became transferable. Anyone could use them. Instead of carrying coins, people simply paid with the receipts. But merchants needed smaller denominations. You can't buy groceries with one giant receipt. So banks started issuing receipts in convenient amounts: banknotes. Banknotes freed the economy from the limits of precious metals. When the economy grew, gold supplies often couldn't keep up. But with paper money, banks could issue more notes than the gold they held. This fractional reserve banking expanded the money supply and stimulated growth. Of course, it was risky. In 1660's Stockholm, too many notes were issued. People rushed to exchange them for coins, but the banks didn't have enough. Crisis followed. Still, the principle of paper money was revolutionary. It allowed economies to grow beyond the weight of gold and silver. In early modern Europe, mercantilism dominated. Nations saw themselves in constant economic war. Wealth meant hoarding gold and silver. The goal? Export more, import less, and keep colonies as captive suppliers. But English thinker Nicholas Barbon disagreed. He argued, gold and silver have no inherent value, only what the market gives them. Demand drives supply, not the other way around. Fashion and innovation fuel growth by making people buy new goods. Before writing, Barbon was a real estate developer. In 1666, the Great Fire of London destroyed 13,000 houses. 1/6 of the city's population lost their homes. Barbon saw opportunity. He built houses and sold fire insurance. Then he created something like mortgages, founding a land bank that lent against property. This wasn't just profitable, it stabilized the economy. Fires no longer ruined entire communities because pooled insurance spread the risk. Mortgages freed the value locked inside houses and put that money back into circulation. As Barbon put it, you could spend your house while still living in it. Barbon also argued, why cling to gold and silver at all? If their value is only conventional, why not just replace them with paper money? His ideas were only the beginning, but they pointed toward a future where pieces of paper, later even digital numbers, could buy bread, phones, or even houses. And that's where the next chapter of the story begins. That's the journey from barter to banknotes. Thanks for watching. You know the drill. The more likes and comments, the faster part 2 comes out. Subscribe, hit the bell if you haven't already.